Welcome to Who Let the Moms Out. Hey, today we actually have less.
On time.
Yes, today we have less of a delay. This is awesome. Welcome to the podcast that normalizes all sorts of mom conversations. We are both a little bit tired. I am 2 weeks postpartum and not necessarily tired from lack of sleep. I've actually been sleeping really good. But just tired from sitting down and breastfeeding all day, every day, What are you tired from?
Being a milk machine. I am tired from being on my period, and I'm not tired, actually. Actually, yes, Flynn has been home for 3 days.
Oh,
which has been
my God.
hard.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to juggle, work and life. And it's been very...
I've been trying to learn how to work solely on my phone, and let me tell you, without a computer, and it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. Yeah,
it is.
But today we are actually going to be talking about birth stories, not tiredness. So if you've made it this far, welcome. You can always find us on Instagram at wholetthemoms.out.pod. Come say hi, get on our DMs, have conversations, watch our reels. And of course, you can always subscribe here on YouTube. Oh my God, I get to put my boob away.
Yeah, that was So today we will be sharing the birth of the lady in question, the introduction of the glorious Atlas.
Yes.
Introduction to the world.
She's here. So if you have heard some of our previous episodes, you know that this last pregnancy was the emoji of the trash can. Yeah.
That's been your...
It's my new one.
That has been your emoji. Yeah, it's your emoji of...
through the whole pregnancy. Yeah. It's just the trash can. Because honestly, I could have just thrown myself in the trash can throughout the whole pregnancy. I feel amazing now. I have no complaints now. But before we get to the part of no complaints, we're going to talk about the birth of my beautiful child, who came into this world a day before her due date so that her mother couldn't complain about her taking so long for the rest of her life. She was smart.
Yeah, exactly. She knew what's coming if she was a little bit delayed.
But listen, I went out the day before she was born. We went to the resort to have a pool day so I can get in the hot tub, even though you're not supposed to when you're pregnant. But I was like, maybe I can just, boil, sous vide this baby out into the world. And I was getting up from a lounger. Yeah, no, I was getting up from the lounger, and I had this group of moms. It was 2 moms with their little teenage daughters walking by. And one of the moms was looking at me because I was massive. And I looked at her and I was like, I know. She's like, no, you're doing so great. I was like, you're doing so great. When are you due? And I was like, I don't even know anymore. Anytime now, whenever she wants. I was like, I don't have the energy for this. I was this massive blob of belly walking around. There was nothing else to me. Nobody was ever more ready to birth a child than I was with this last pregnancy. I will say that. Please.
Yes, you definitely were. So, first question, how and when did you realize that you were actually in labor? So, how did it all started?
So, I woke up early in the morning, like I do every day, and I texted my friend here, just like I do every day. Around 5 in the morning, I wake up and I go poop, and I send her a message, and I say, hey, good morning, I'm pooping, or whatever, And that morning, I texted her and I said, hey, I have the bloody show. I have blood. And she was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, but I don't want to get excited because I had already had 3 other days where it seemed like the baby was coming. I had full-on contractions, blah, 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 and nothing happened. So I was like, hey, I have which with my first baby, the morning she was born, I also woke up to blood. So that's how I knew. But this time I was excited.
That was a thing that was surprising to me because it didn't happen. I didn't experience that. So it was oh, that's a thing. That's fine.
Yeah. So if you're watching this or hearing this on YouTube, let us know in the comments if that was also for you a sign that your baby was coming or not. Because I'm curious how many women experience it this way. I know for a lot of people it's the water breaking, but both my births, the water didn't break until the baby was about to come out. So
Yeah, same here.
yeah. Yeah, but it was crazy. I
They
woke up
come
and I
very
was
early.
like, I think she's coming. But then my contractions they were not very like 12 minutes, 15 minutes on and off. So I was like, maybe it's not going to happen because they were not very consistent. And then at around 11 in the morning, I texted my midwife saying, okay, they're happening every like 5 to 7 minutes. So I do think it is happening today, soonish. It could be any time before the end of the day because I don't know how fast it was going to happen. So my midwife kept saying, I think you're going to have a really fast birth. And I was really reluctant to lean on that because my pregnancy was so challenging that I don't think
Yeah,
I was afraid to get excited about the potential of something easy and then it being hard. I didn't want to
yeah,
be
yeah. So
disappointed
it's
like
just
that, I
like try
guess.
not to disappoint yourself.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
it'll be 24 hours of labor. I'm just going to hope for that, like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Imagine. No, actually. But so then, how many hours was it between, like, active labor and?
So my midwife got here at 11:30 and like a couple minutes after she got here, the contractions started happening every like 2 or 3 minutes. So that's active labor.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
baby was out by 1:50 p.m. So it was two and a
yeah.
half
So
hours
she
of
was right.
labor.
She
She
was
was
right.
right. It was an
She was absolutely
incredible,
right.
incredibly fast birth. Yeah. It was crazy fast. And I'm so
And
happy.
pain and stuff. And how did you felt about, like, actually
So
birthing a human being? Tell us about that experience.
I was really excited to birth, to be honest with you. I was really looking forward to birthing. Um, Towards the end of the pregnancy, like I was like, okay, like, like when you start feeling like, oh my gosh, am I gonna be able to do it really? I had one moment in the actual birth, labor, where I was like, what if I can do this? So I had this idea. My first birth, I tried to do a water birth. And there was so much
Yeah.
commotion. There was so much going on. I did the hypnobirthing, the playlist, the people, the pool, the photographer, la 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 la. And it was a struggle for me. At 11 in the morning, I remember just being over the pool like this, exhausted to death, thinking if I just wake up in a hospital, I'll be happy. Like I don't care anymore. My baby was born at almost 3 p.m., 2:42 p.m. On this birth, I didn't do a playlist because I just couldn't be bothered. Every time I thought of doing a playlist, it was overwhelming. I didn't call the photographer because last minute I was like, I don't want another person in this space. I didn't do a pool because I was like, I don't want to have to deal with it. And I didn't know if my house could take it. Like I live in a really shacky Hawaiian situation. So I was like, I don't know if this house can take a pool. Um, Imagine water. I just didn't want to deal with it. And I was like, it's too much distraction. And also when you have contractions in the water, I feel like it delays the contractions. Like I feel like it just goes slower, it's gentler on your body. But I was like, I just don't want to deal with any extras. Um, and I just kept telling myself, you will know when to push. You will know what to do. Your body will know you were meant for this. It's gonna be fine. To me, everything was manageable until so I have a picture of myself sitting on the floor between contractions. Like if you can imagine, like contractions are happening every 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes. In between that 1.5, 2 minute, I'm sitting on the floor, literally smiling, like talking to my midwife and Roger. Like Roger's doing dishes while all of this is happening. Like last birth, it was going crazy. Like, this birth, it was super chill. I was like sitting on the floor, like just smiling. Like to telling a story in the 1 minute I have in between the freaking contractions. Like, so the pain
That's
was
good.
definitely
That's
manageable.
where you want to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. It was definitely manageable. Obviously, like, there's pain. I'm not going to downplay it. I didn't have a euphoric birth or a orgasmic birth. It wasn't pleasure. It was pain. But it wasn't like insane pain that you couldn't handle. It was manageable pain. And then I remember I was trying to have my baby kneeling or squatting. And we did the whole setup for it. We put like the yoga mats and the little pads, whatever, like the little doggy pads for collecting all the crap that comes out or whatever. Not literal crap, but just like the stuff that comes out. So when you do a home birth, like, right, you don't have like a bed.
The
And
doggy
even,
pads. I just realized right now.
yeah, yeah. Well, they're called chalk pads, I think. They put them in hospital beds on their people so that
Yes,
they
I
don't
know.
stain
Yeah.
everything. I just couldn't think of a name. Chalk pads. Anyway, so we put a bunch of them, and I was like trying to like squat or kneel, like have like I've seen in the videos of the people just in the gravity, and then my legs kept shaking, and I just kept being so uncomfortable and feeling like it was too strenuous. I was like, I had that's when I had the moment of like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, no, 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 no. Let's find another position. Like, let's find another position. And I've been watching called a midwife. So I see a lot that the sideway birthing is a very good position, especially if your baby gets stuck for trying to move your baby, trying to get the shoulders in the right position, which ended up happening with this one actually. So I'm glad that I did that way. And I just had this feeling of doing it on the couch. And I told her, like, can I just lay on the couch? Can I just try this on the couch? Because my last birth, I ended up doing it on my back and I hated it. I hated it. I had this vision of like my legs over my head. Like, I just didn't want to have that again. So I was like reluctant to lay down, but I was like, I'm going to do it sideways. And then when I was on my knees, I actually stuck my finger inside and I could feel the head of the baby inside of the sack. So I was like, okay, she's coming. So all my middle finger, I could feel her that deep in. And that was like, well, that's still a long way. Like it could be hours for her to go from there to out. Well, it took like 15, 20 minutes. I lay down and I had one push. My water broke and splashed all over the midwife. Like it was insanity. I've never, because with my previous birth, my water broke in the pool. So I never saw the water breaking. And I've never experienced the water breaking standing up. I've seen it on TV. And so I was just laying on my side, and all of a sudden I have this push, and it was actually a push, not just a contraction, because I didn't push at all until I had to, until I felt like absolutely I had to. And then it just like with water everywhere, and I was like, oh, like I don't know, I totally had forgotten about the bag. It was even she was like I'm talking about her shirt, her pants, like just like
wow.
Yeah,
she
crazy.
had to change her clothes.
Yeah, she always. I mean, thankfully, these women are prepared. Midwives, you want a prepared woman, you call a midwife. Yeah. And then I swear to you, I had like 3 more pushes. I pushed 3 to 5 times, and the baby was out. I have the whole thing on video. It was like 14 minutes exactly. Actually, less than that, because the whole video is 14 minutes, but it includes my husband coming over and cuddling and being with the baby and all that. So the actual birth itself was like, the actual pushing was less than 10 minutes. It was absolutely wonderful.
That's crazy. But follow-up question, you actually put your finger up your vajayjays to check.
Yeah.
I could never. I don't know.
Why?
Just the fact that if I put my finger up my hoo-ha and I see it, I feel a head, I feel like I would just know.
Well, you're not feeling like
that, like,
head,
have a baby inside of me. So I'm going
really?
Yeah. So like putting as soon as you said it, I was just like
I know, I saw your face. I was like, why is that so shocking? No, so you put the finger because once you know your baby is so close, you get like an extra push of like energy and
close.
like
that's really far.
I know, but it's closer than when you feel nothing. And then then you keep on touching, right? And then like the next time I touched, it was like half the finger, and then it was like right there, and then I could literally feel from my vagina lip area her hair. So I was like, she's right there.
I know.
I can't believe this is the part that that's so funny.
No. I'm in with everything you said, but then when you said you put your finger, I said, no, I do not want to know. I would not want to know.
You know, it's funny. I have a picture of when I put my finger, and I was going to send it to you, but I didn't because I don't know. I just didn't think it was as cool as the other photos. Had I sent you that picture, I would have gotten the craziest reaction from. So I've been sending Paula birth videos for everybody the entirety of my pregnancy. I've been so literally, she's like, I literally don't know what I'm gonna see when I open your messages anymore.
No, and it's generally like, and I open so confidently as well, and then suddenly there's a baby coming out or something, and I don't even realize what it is at first. That's the problem as well. Like,
also,
I start watching,
for context,
like, what?
For context, we are 12 hours apart. So
Oh
when
yeah.
she sees my messages or I see hers, it's always either late at night or early in the morning. So it's like you're seeing a person birthing, like, at like 5 or 6 in the morning,
First
or
thing.
like,
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my god, wow, what did I just watch? And they're not like, not PG-13. That's the thing as well. They're very full
they're
on.
like full births. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, full births. So that was
I
very
sent you my
interesting.
birth too. My
Yes,
full
yes,
on.
that one I did
Yeah.
watch. I was
Yeah.
prepared. I knew what was
Prepare.
coming. Still, like it was really impressive. Like I was just like, there's like you could see like Atlas' head, and I was just like, I know, no,
What's crazy is I sent it to a cousin of mine who's older. So I thought she was like, more mature. She didn't even watch. She was like, I can't watch that. Like, I just can't. It's too personal.
oh,
And sent it to, like, it's personal as in like she knows me and she doesn't want to see like me do it. I don't understand that. Weird. And then I sent it to another cousin and she was like, bro, I have PTSD. She's like, now I don't even know if I want to have another kid. Like, it's so funny because I sent it like encouraging, like, look how beautiful birth can be. Like, I don't know. I'm not a person who's like, look, I'm a hippie, but I'm not like that crazy of a hippie, I think. Right? Am I like medium hippie or like super out there? What do you think? Because maybe I'm not being objective with myself.
you are pretty out there because yeah, that is pretty out there.
Okay. So I am pretty out there, I guess. I don't know. I find birthing, I think it's so beautiful. I think it's
it is beautiful, but it's like, and I'm not saying it's not, but like your face, for instance, on during birth, like you look like you're in pain, right? And you are like finding that very powerful, and we're like, look how much pain she's in, type of thing, because we don't know
yeah.
what it is, so it just feels a bit
Yeah.
different to
I
watch
don't know.
it.
I guess to me, birthing is like a rite of passage. So like, okay, so full
Mm,
disclosure here, I've struggled with anxiety my entire adult life. And to me, having a mental struggle, like to be mentally in pain is so difficult. Like it's wow. It's so strenuous because you can't stop it. You know what I mean? So to me, physical pain, especially when the reward is so large, is I don't know, it's always been something so beautiful to me because after I had my first baby, I remember thinking like I got this high that lasted for months of like, wow, I did that. Like I can do that. It's so amazing. Like look what I can do, you know? And the fact that you can do it naturally, the fact that like you can feel all of it and you can I don't know, like to me, it just gave me this like superpower of like, if I can do that, I can do anything. Like, sleepless nights come at me, projectile poop come at me, feeling touched out, like not knowing where you're at in life, not knowing all of it, just come at me. I don't care. I just did this. You know what I mean? So I
yeah,
think for me, like, I can rationalize it, I guess, maybe in that way. Like, I don't know. I find birth so beautiful because I don't know any other experience as a woman that connects you more with who we are and our entirety of like our power, like our true godliness. Like we're just so amazing as humans. Like the biology of a female is so amazing to me. And I think that when you
yeah.
birth, like you allow yourself to experience that. And then I don't know, that fuels you. Like right now I'm 2 weeks postpartum and I've never been happier in my life.
Yeah, but that's very
So I
strong
don't,
willed. That's very strong willed, and it's very
yeah,
good.
I
It's really good
guess. I
because
guess. You're
yeah,
like,
like the idea of just doing that without the pool is like, yeah, hell no. Can I go for and my gas? I'm gonna get my gas too.
wait, beef. Oh, without. You're like, wait, so you guys get gas? You don't get the epidural.
No. So that's what my plan was for
Oh.
with the pool and the gas only until the complications and stuff. It was that.
So is the gas like a painkiller as well?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes,
But
it's sort of like you feel high and it helps with the breathing. So that's just it. So it helps with the pain and the breathing and stuff. But
but
it
you
doesn't
can
like
do the gas
really
and
help.
then the epidural.
Yeah, you do both.
So the gas is like for like the beginning pain, and the epidural is for like the ending of it. Oh.
Yeah. Once you have the epidural, you don't get the gas anymore, but I did the gas.
First, and then the
Because they get
epidural.
you high, so it's fun. And I was already high from the epidural, so I was just like giving gas, and the woman was like, the midwife was like, are you still in pain? And I was like, I know, I'm just preventing it.
You're like, I just don't
That's
want to
already
be
my
in
life.
pain.
It's
I'm just
been
not dealing
20
with any of
hours, my
that.
friend. I'm not dealing with it anymore.
But honestly though, like there are some of those births that you hear that are like 36. And my cousin was in the hospital, like in labor for 36 hours. But granted, she was told that she was gonna die. It was like, who tells a person in labor they're going to die? Like that's the most irrational thing I've ever heard of in my life. So she goes to the hospital and she
Jesus
has COVID.
Christ.
So she has COVID. Her husband have COVID. They let him in because he has COVID too. So they both go in the room, thankfully, because otherwise she would have been alone. She would have probably died. Um, and then they're like, well, no, it's like this is a very complicated. You may die. Like la 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 la. I'm just like, who says this to a woman in labor? Like,
Labor.
so I think that's why she took so long to actually labor, because I think she was just in panic of like,
Just panic, yeah, bliss. Oh, Jesus, that's a traumatic experience.
she wanted
Okay, so I
three, and
had
then
one
she's like,
last question, actually.
yes, go ahead.
How was it with Alaska? Actually, you haven't even told me this. We haven't even talked about it. But yes, how was it with was it Alaska there, or was just she there for a little bit and then she came afterwards? How was that
So
with the second
Alaska had
child?
gone to school that day. Yeah, Alaska had gone to school, and her school ends at 12. So by 11:30, I'm going into active labor. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be some hours until the baby comes out. My midwife said, I think the baby will come before sunset, which happens like at 6:30. I was like, you said this was gonna be fast. But obviously she came way faster. I was
I'm
so I
already
was,
complaining.
it's so funny because midwives, especially like my midwife, she's always been very like, she doesn't tell you much. She's just sort of like letting things go. She's very natural oriented. But I remember when I told her, like, I think this baby's gonna come early, she was like, I think your baby's gonna come like around its due date. And I was like, why? I was so upset. I was like, look how big I am. And she was like, well, because the first one went to
Why?
42 weeks. So I don't think this was going to come at 37 weeks. I was ready at 37 weeks. I was like, baby can come anytime. Oh my gosh. My husband had gone to California, and I was like, hurry up. I can go into labor anymore. 3 weeks later, I'm still like pregnant
This
AF.
is true. This is true, by the way. She's
It's
like, since
horrible.
week 37, every single day, she felt she was going into labor. So it's been fun.
Ah, I was I was ready. We were like on standby the whole time. Anyway,
Yeah.
so then, and especially Paula, who's been there every single day, like hearing every
Yeah. Every single
complaint,
night,
every
I had a message from Roger. I was like, oh shit. Yeah, she's got into labor. And then it was like, oh no, it's not. It's work.
it's just work. So then I was like, I told my brother, like, go pick up Alaska and go do stuff with her. Like, just go have fun. And then my brother called everyone. He called my mom, my dad, my sister, like everybody. He was like, but don't call her. And we're Cubans. You tell us not to say, we will say. You tell us not to call, we will call. I have my phone and do not disturb. When I opened it, it was like 85 calls from everyone. But my brother was thinking it's going to take, however long, because he was there for Alaska's birth too. So it was long. And then I called him at he left the house at like 11:40. And I call him at 1:50, and I'm like, she's here. And he was like, what? But then my uterus wouldn't contract again. And I kept bleeding and bleeding
Oh,
and
yeah.
bleeding. And so the midwife was like doing all the things to get your uterus to contract so it starts moving down where it needs to go back into the cervix. And I just kept bleeding. And she was really worried. She was like, well, let's hold off. We might have to she's trying all the things that she's got to try. What's the matter? She has a fart.
Oi. Oi.
I know those pains are so horrible. Come here. Thanks. So, yeah, come. So anyway, she starts doing all these things to try to control the bleeding, right? And that took us from 2 p.m. until like 4 p.m. So then finally my uterus, is doing its thing. I did something really gross for the uterus contracting thing, which is put a piece of raw placenta in my cheek. I had never done that before. And when she was like, that may help.
How?
Okay, so another thing that you need to know about my hippie self is that I keep my placentas. Did she vomit? No. Oh,
No, I felt like it was a sneeze.
hi.
Where
Hi.
are you going? Where are you
Where are
going?
you going? So, with my previous birth, I kept my placenta and I encapsulated it and I consumed it. The first few days, we just get chunks of it and I put it in a smoothie. You don't taste it or anything, but it's known to help you with your hormones so you don't get postpartum depression. And because I had already dealt with so much anxiety all my life, I was like, I do not want to deal with this after
I'm not
birth.
gonna risk it.
Right. And it actually worked wonderfully. Even though it was COVID and anxiety and all these things, I was fantastic for the postpartum with Alaska. So this time around, I was like, I'm gonna do the same thing. My placentas are really big. They're like massive. Like, just to give you an idea, my birth weight that came off of me when I birthed was 20 to 23 pounds, or 20 to 22 to 25 pounds, which is a lot. Like, my baby was 9 pounds, granted, but there's still another like 15 pounds what was it? Like, my placenta was huge. And so because my uterus has to enlarge so much to fit these ginormous babies, then it has trouble contracting. And that's where the bleeding was happening and it wouldn't stop happening. So my midwife had a moment of like, okay, we might have to go to the hospital because you're just losing a lot of blood and it's not stopping. And, I tore a little bit because she tried to take her shoulders out. And it was 4 small stitches. She had already sewn them back together and I'm still bleeding. So she's like, well, we might have to go to the hospital because what else, right? And then I'm sitting there like, no. The hospital was like literally like walking distance from my house, which is great. So I was like, whatever. I was not afraid, but I already had the baby with me, and I'm like, you're not taking this baby off of me. And she's like, well, no, we would take the baby. We go with you. And I was like, let's try something else. I don't want to move. And I tried to sit up, and I went completely white. And by the way, we had a assistant midwife that was supposed to be here for the birth, and she was coming with an IV. Because last birth, they put an IV on me to replenish fluids. This midwife had 1 day in 2 months that she wasn't going to be in town, and it was that day, of course. So then my midwife has no IV. She's trying to contact all the other midwives on the island to see if anybody else can come, but they're all like doing stuff or not available. She's like, we might have to call the ambulance, and they'll just come. And I'm like, no, if you call the ambulance, they're going to take me to the hospital, and I'm not leaving my baby. She's like, no, we'll come with you. And I was like, let's just try something else. So for 2 hours, this poor woman is trying everything she can to get this crazy mama to stop bleeding. And Roger is literally with the phone with 911 already like dialed in. Like, and I'm like, it's okay. Just give my body some time. I just birthed. Like, give me some time to
you are crazy.
And then I birthed 3 ginormous blood clots, like literally the size of a tennis ball, like this big. And I was like, so I think the reason the uterus was having issues moving down is because I had all this stuff that still had to come out, After that happened, it was better. And then she was like, well, you're still bleeding. And I was like, is there anything else you could try? And she was like, okay, it's really gross. You might not want to do it. And I was like, what is it? And she was like, we can put a piece of placenta in your cheek because all those hormones will trigger your uterus to contract. And I was like, okay, do it. Just do it. Just do it. I just don't want to go to the hospital. And so she put a chunk of placenta in my cheek, which was disgusting because it actually tasted like organ. And then the bleeding stopped.
Well, fair enough. And then she asks, but for those of you who are listening, remember that she asked how hippie she is.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to go to the hospital. They're bleeding to death, but I'm not leaving my baby.
Actually, but I was not bleeding to death. It's common to bleed when you have a birth anyway. I just bled a little bit more.
See,
and now I have this chunky. Oh, you want some more?
She's hungry. I mean, what do you think it
she
is?
was just eating. No, it was a fart. I mean, she keeps doing that and then goes.
Little fart machine.
A little fart machine. Ooh. So yeah, all in all, it was a wonderful birth. And I have a wonderful, healthy baby at home. I was telling my sister the next day, like, oh, I feel so great. Like, I was like, oh, but the birth, like, it was so much weight that came off. She's like, you lost a ton of blood. I'm like, okay, I didn't lose like
Exactly.
5 pounds of blood. Like that's crazy.
Yes, you
No,
did.
no,
3 pound
no. So
of
apparently,
blood clots.
no. In a birth, you normally release 3 to 500 milliliters of blood. It's common. After 500, they technically consider it a hemorrhage. And my midwife, she like gauged it by everything that was there. He's like, I think you maybe bled like maybe 500-600. So a little bit more than usual, but it wasn't to the point where we were like, he's like, no, I was ready. If it kept on going, I was just gonna call like that's it, But then it worked. So my body did what it had to do. It just needed some time.
Stress. Just stressing people out. I mean, if I was there, I would probably be like a
You would have
chicken,
died.
headless chicken, like Roger. Like I'd just be like, looking at each other, like, what could we want to do with this woman?
I my poor husband, who is not a hippie, and he
Exactly. Like
was just, he's just
every
like,
time you tell me all of these things, crazy things that you were doing to him, and I was like, this man, he's gonna die of an anxiety attack.
But listen, he could have chosen anybody else. He already did a birth. I remember when I wanted to do free birthing, and he was like, please, just everything you want, but not that, please.
Oh yeah. So there was a time that Marae just had this need that she wanted to birth by herself, nobody else, and she was going. If she went into labor, there was nobody home. She was not going to call anyone. And poor Roger.
Poor
Stressing
Roger.
out.
No,
If
I'm
it
really
ever
glad I
happened.
had my midwife. I'm so glad I had my midwife. She was amazing. She was
She was
perfect
really
for my
good.
birth.
She sounded amazing. It's like you need someone like that on your with you when you're
In your
birthing, like on
corner.
this important like day like this. Someone that supports and actually respects your needs, and it's
That's the
amazing.
main thing. I think birthing is birthing. Like at the end of the day, when you get to that point, all you care about is having your healthy baby with you, right? And that
Yeah.
you're healthy enough to stay with your baby. That's all you really care about. But I think having a woman in your corner who knows your needs, who's aware of what you want, and who respects your needs, and who puts you first as the mother. So I think what happens in a lot of hospital situations is you're just a number, you're a patient. And so the only focus is let's get the baby out. And in reality, it's like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm going through one of the most traumatic experiences of my life as a birthing mother. Like birthing is a crazy thing for both the baby and the mom. And I think the more relaxed you are and the more in tune you are with your needs as a woman, the easier the whole birthing thing will go.
Yeah. Exactly. It's
And I
just
think
like,
having a woman like that is, yeah.
yeah, it definitely. It's just it's needed. It's definitely, you need someone that understands what you're going through and that respects that, because it's tough. It's tough if you don't have, especially if you don't have someone that is actually there to
And
support you.
one thing I really appreciated about having her is that she kept reminding me that I knew what to do. Like she never told me push. She never told me when or what I should look for. She just said, you will know. You will know. Your body will tell you. I am dying of a heat stroke over here with all these pillows and things. And anyway, that was my birth story. That is what happened. That is how I birthed baby Atlas Ea into the world. And it was a wonderful thing because once again, after the birth happened, I just got to be home with my baby. And that's all I ever wanted. Like the feeling of being at home, holding your baby, not in a hospital room with a bunch of people coming. Oh, yo, yo. Oh, who wants to see a baby? Oh, hi. Oi. Hi, you good baby. Oh, she's not happy.
She's not happy.
No.
She got gay.
Where's my boob? She got gay heels. But she wants more food somehow, and I don't understand that.
Food always makes things better. Do you not understand that?
I should know that by now, huh?
Yeah, come on. Food makes everything better.
Anyway, that was my crazy
Especially when it
birth
comes from a
story.
booby.
From
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
It's funny because I don't think it's that intense or that crazy. And then when I hear all these details, I'm like,
It will be. It will
okay.
be. Like, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will feel like this is a crazy story.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt pretty normal. Like you should see. Like
I don't think it's
the
crazy.
next day
I think it's actually. I find it crazy because it was fast. I must say,
because it was fast.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
very.
That's the part that
fast.
I find the craziest. Yeah,
yeah.
Me too. It's funny because I'm really proud of how fast it was, as if I had some control over it. You know, like I'm like, oh, it's only like a 3-hour birth, but it's not pride. Like I did something amazing. It's more like I was given this gift of a 3-hour labor. Yes,
I'm grateful.
But also, I had a really challenging, really challenging pregnancy. Like I was in pain.
You kind of deserved
months.
it, to be fair. You did deserve it.
Yeah,
like yeah,
the least,
you deserved it.
the least
my body could get.
I demand. But this is why I'm not doing it again because 1, I'm not going through another pregnancy, and 2, what if I had a longer birth? I'd be so pissed. No.
That would be very annoying. Go from second to 15 minutes to third to 2 hours.
30 hours. Not gonna happen. Not gonna. How did you fall asleep already?
Vagina.
She fell asleep.
Ah!
Yeah.
Told you, a boob makes everything better. You just
She doesn't even want the boob.
that's rude.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to my crazy birth. Come say hi on Instagram at wholetthemoms.pod. Come tell us your birth stories, or if you thought this one was wild. Join the conversation. We love to normalize all sorts of things, as you can see.
Yeah.
See you
so
next
much
week. Bye.